Welcome to another Tech Talk. In this Tech Talk we're going to be talking about the Duplicator Wizard. This is Ken Bear. I'm the author of the Duplicator Wizard. It is a plugin that we created several years ago for Animation Master that allows you to take repetitive modeling tasks that involve copy and paste and rotation and scaling and automate that so you can make repetitive kinds of objects much easier. So what we're going to do, I'm going to be showing three examples. The first one you should be familiar with. It's from the manual. It's how to create a flower using one flower petal and then copying it a number of times and rotating it in order to make a flower. Then I'm going to be showing how to make a screw, and then how to make a spiral staircase. So let's get started. I'm going to open up a flower model. Okay, so here's the flower petal, and let's go to the top view. Zoom out a little bit. Okay, let's move that over a little bit. Let's make the little bulb that the flower petal goes around first, so we have something to rotate around. Loop it. And top view. Okay. Now I'm going to move the petal into position, and a very important thing to understand about the Duplicator Wizard is that it's going to rotate and copy around the pivot of the group. So let's go to the translate mode manipulator. You get top view, translate the pivot. Actually, one really good way to do this rather than doing it this way is turn on the manipulator. See this one? That's the manipulator to data properties, and X pivot. I want to make the X 0. Also want to make the Y 0. X 0 is really the important one here. Oops, I lost my group. Okay, hit the slash to get it back. Go back to this manipulator and 0, 0. Okay, turn that off. Okay, let's go to the front. Well, that didn't do it, did it? 0. Z, I want to change to 0. Okay, there it is. Let's go to the top view. And now, all of the Duplicator Wizard works on the group. So you have to have a group selected. You move the pivot and you say Duplicator. And there it is. Okay, so we want to make a copy rather than extruding it. Extruding it will connect the points from each group to the next. We want to use copy. And 13, I want to have 13 petals. Now, this number, this is the Y rotate that we're going to sweep around this pivot down here. This number, 27.7, is 360 degrees divided by 13 times. And I used the calculator that came with the operating system, either on the Mac or on the PC. And I typed in 27.7. Say OK. Let's go to shaded mode. There it is. You notice it's all in a group, so if I don't like it, I can delete it and try it again. When you have a beginning shape, it's often a good idea to save that as a separate file, so it's a good starting point. And you can also, if you want, in a separate modeling window, you could copy paste that into this window or whatever you want. You can also either on the group before you change it or after you've changed it, you can set the color. See, very simple. And let's select out of there. I'm gonna select the bud in the middle and change that color. Down here, make that black, and there's our flower. We're going to load up screw model. Okay. All right. Now, the way screw works is I'm going to start with this shape here, and I'm going to use extrude to sweep it around the axis here, but I'm also going to taper it down so that it makes it turns into a point. Now first I'll group make sure I'm in centimeters. That's important for this one, and I just click that one by accident. There we go, back to centimeters. And I'm going to move the pivot for this group because I want it to go around the center point here. So let's switch to this. Okay, I'm moving my pivot right around the center, and I'm going to right click on the group, bring up the wizard. Okay, we still have the settings from the last thing that we did. Now, first thing we're going to do is switch to extrude. And the way this one is going to work is I am going to do a Y rotation, but I'm also going to do a Y translate. That means it's going to move as it rotates it's going to move, and we measure that in centimeters. That's why it's important to be in centimeters. So I want it to rotate 45 degrees. That'll give us a nice round shape. That means for every iteration it's going to be 45 degrees rotated from the last time. And I want to move it down. Moving it down means negative. It's positive if you want to move positive in the X, or positive in the Y in this case. Negative if you want to move the other direction. So I'm making it negative 0.25. That's negative 0.25 centimeters per iteration. Now the other thing I'm going to do is use taper. What taper does, it's not actually scaling, but it is moving. It's moving towards the center of the rotation for every iteration. So in this case, after a little experimentation, I'm going to make it negative, so that goes inward, positive goes outward, 0.0625. And this is something you'll probably end up playing with as you go with, play with them more. I'm going to make the repeat 100. Now, this is one of the nice little things here is I have this stop at distance. What that means is, as I move towards the center, it has a test to see that as I move to the center, when it hits 0 or negative, it's going to stop. If I didn't have this test here, it would just keep iterating and moving, and it would go negative, and it would kind of flip around to the other side, and you'd start getting a mirror effect happening. That's not what we want. So we want to have stop at distance 0. You can actually make this some other number. You could make it 5 centimeters, 2 centimeters, whatever you want. So we make sure we're in extrude, and this should spin it around. See, okay, and there's our screw. It's pretty nice in shaded mode. And everything that you notice, it comes out in a group, so you can just grab it. If you don't like it, you can delete it, try it again. Sometimes it's a good idea to save the shape that you start with, so it's a good starting point. But it's kind of fun to play with this a little bit, and you can see there it is. It is important to note that there is a little bit of a gap there. So you don't want to get too close to this, but when you're going to make a shape like this, it's very likely it's going to be something kind of small, so you'll never notice, and it looks really good that way. And then also it's important to realize that this is just the same as any other object in Animation Master. You can move any of these points, you can group, you can do whatever you want. You can flatten this out a little bit. Go to front. Just grab this and flatten it out a little. So you can just kind of flatten out the top like that, or whatever you want to do. You know, you might want to play with the tip a little here to get it more of a point. But that gives you a basic idea of how to do screws. And these are good numbers to start with, but you can play with it as you want. Now, I'd like to show a few of the other things that you can do with that. I'm going to use the same one again. And I'm going to translate the pivot again. Now, there are other effects that you can do here. This whole section over here is more things that you can do on the shape as it iterates. And one thing that's fun to play with is scale. You can scale it down with every iteration. You don't have to do the same ones on each one, but we're kind of do it uniform here. And you can see it kind of gets really small. And it gets really tiny there. It's so small you can't even see it. I'll do something, try it again here. Let's revert. Okay. Let's do something like 95. I think that actually works a little better. And it's, you know, it just kind of spins it down, sort of a receding helix. It's a neat effect. See, that's kind of cool. Now, actually, I want to load this other file here. I believe this has the pivot already. Yeah. Okay. Now, here's some other stuff you can do. You can, this is called tumble. You can rotate the shape around its own pivot, around the center. Let's see, around the center of the shape as it's spinning around or rotating around its pivot. So that's why it's called tumble. It's kind of an esoteric sort of function, but we can do, say, 15 degrees X and Y. Go back to 100 here. This is starting to get into, maybe it has fewer applications, but it's sort of fun, and you can make interesting shapes with it. Things that would be kind of difficult to do or tedious to do by hand. Kind of more mathematical, and you know, that's just sort of fun to play with. but that's kind of what that's there for. And one last thing I want to show, the pivot. This one's a little complicated to explain, but this pivot, normally it's going to pivot around the center point of the bounding box for the group. This pivot is an offset, so it can sweep around, say the Z, make that 5. Yeah, see, it's really doing weird stuff. It's kind of like, it's very hard to explain, but it's actually, yeah, you see it's kind of sweeping around itself as it sweeps around. That's why it's called tumble. So it was kind of experimental, and that's kind of what you'd just be playing around with it. Well, let's get back to some applications of this. And what I've got here is I've got this stair model. Okay, what we have, you can see a model to stair, just one stair. Let's go to the front view, go back to wireframe. Actually, I'm going to top view here. Okay, now what I want to do, first I want to actually change the shape of the stair. What we're going to do is make a spiral staircase, and because it's spinning around, I want to have the outer part here of the step actually be larger than the inner part, and I want to actually rotate this bottom. This is kind of a setting it up, set it up for using the duplicator. So what I want to do is move the pivot for the bottom. See, I just grouped the points on the essentially the front side of the stair because we're in the top view, and I'm going to rotate. And what I want to do, let's see, I've got, make sure I get, let's bring up the properties, make sure I can see what I'm doing here. I want to rotate that down. Okay, where are we? Let's see. Okay, hopefully this will show what I want. Yeah, okay. I want to rotate the Y by 10 degrees. Okay. Now, so I've kind of changed the shape of the step, but this is going to aid in our spiral staircase. Okay, so I'm going to group the entire stairs, go to the translate manipulator, move the pivot to the center, and now I'll bring up the Duplicator Wizard. Now, for this, we want to use copy. If we use extrude, it's going to connect all the points of the stairs. We're going to have this happy fun slide ramp, but it's not going to be a staircase. So, go into copy. You notice we have our settings from our previous playing around, so we're going to clear some of these out. I am going to translate by 1 centimeter. Okay, this is a staircase for small people, but that'll work. I'm going to rotate 10 degrees. You notice I rotated the bottom stair, the bottom part of the stair, or actually the front from the top view. I rotated that by 10 degrees, so it's all going to kind of line up. And I want to make 36 stairs. And let's clear these out. We're going to have some wacky stairs if we leave these settings. Okay, so here we go. We're rotating it 10 degrees, 36 times. We're copying it, and we're moving it down, each stair down by a centimeter. And they're centimeter thickness, so it should make them all line up. Okay, here's our beautiful staircase. Let's see that shaded. Okay. I'm not really an architect, but boy, this sure looks good. I'll put one of these in my house. It'd be pretty cool. So this is very much what this plugin is designed to do. And you can see that by making the outer part of it bigger, we don't have any gaps here, and it's just kind of elegant and kind of fun. And it's very easy to play with this stuff. It does require a little bit of forethought. It's useful to have the calculator tool handy, just the standard one that comes with the operating system, and think about how much you want to rotate as far as your total. What is the total rotation? Like, you want to spin around once, 36 degrees. That's why I use 36 stairs. I wanted, and it was a good number for a staircase. Think about how much you want each one to rotate, and then that will determine the rotation numbers that you put in. We could have made these stairs get smaller and smaller. It's kind of impractical, but it's fun. That's about it. That basically covers the functionality of the Duplicator Wizard. Next time you're modeling and you have something that needs to be copied or extruded and changed in some way many times, spokes on a wheel, a windmill, flowers, things like that, think about using the Duplicator Wizard, and definitely have fun. I guess that ends the Tech Talk, and please experiment and post your findings on the forum. Thank you.